Hello and welcome to the Built in the Bronx podcast. I am your host, Maximilian Hill, and on this podcast, we interview our computer science students here at Lehman College, and we connect them with companies that are looking to hire early-stage tech talent. Today, we have a very special guest. His name is Zubear Choudhury, and Zubear is currently pursuing a master's degree in computer science. Zubear, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Sure. Thanks for having me.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
Very good. So how did this semester treat you?
It's been pretty great. Yeah, I'm only taking a few classes, so it's not like super high workload. So that is definitely really helpful. But also, we had a lot of really great events this semester. So just recently on Saturday, we had a Google developer group, Bronx celebration, where we had a whole lot of presenters. They came in, they gave really interesting talks. There was networking, we had food, we had all sorts of different things. So it was really great just to see all these different people coming in from Google. We had Isaac, who's a former student here at Lehman. We had Phil, as you know, recently having the podcast. I think we had a lot of different really cool people. And I don't know, I just found the energy just really incredible.
It was. I know that Eva Sofianos, one of the computer science professors here, she's the founder of the Google developer group, the Bronx chapter. Her and the team put in a lot of work, and I think we used to have a lot more of these events before the pandemic, and this was like the biggest in-person event that we've had since the pandemic. And I got to say, it was a great time. We got this awesome hoodie right here, right? Take the 4 train, right? And I learned a lot from the speakers. There's so many good speakers. My friend Phil Beltray, who we used to work with, he now works at TikTok. Alan Furstenberg, who is one of the best public speakers I've seen. Ralph Yazzo, Rucci, a great lineup. They do a great job. So
yeah.
Tell me, were there any speakers that stood out?
Yeah, I think Alan, as you mentioned, like he's a very enthusiastic presenter. Like you can kind of sense his energy. And a lot of the times, computer science is a really solitary thing. You just don't have that much energy or passion. But he's a guy who kicks in that energy and he radiates that. And I think it's incredible. It really inspires, at least for me, just to kind of see that energy. Like, okay, I want to be like that. Okay. And I also recently saw him at another event at the New York Times. So he also gave a really cool presentation over there.
Yeah. I was at that one too.
Yeah. And so I'm sure, we had Eva Sofianos and we had a few other Lehman students also there.
Yeah. I think they had a really interesting panel on AI.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the buzzword these days, right? So what are your thoughts on, you're a computer science major, so you're in the tech field. What are your thoughts on AI? How is it going to impact
I think it is one of the most interesting things that have come out of software. AI has been talked about a lot for decades. Since we had computers, people were talking about AI. Computers are going to do things that humans can do. But, for a long time, it just felt like, that was just like a pipe dream. It's not going to happen. It could happen, maybe not in our lifetimes. But I think especially with the recent product launches like ChatGPT, it's really showed people that, hey, this technology exists and it actually does work and has a use case. Because a lot of times, we have AI and it's really relegated to very specific things like identifying cats or dogs or recommending videos for you. But we never had AI to the point where as a human you can kind of converse. You can kind of talk in natural language. You can get information back out of it, right? It really feels revolutionary, okay? Compare that to the kind of technology that we had before ChatGPT. Let's just say I had a really complicated chemistry question, and I wanted to understand this question. In order for me to understand that, I might have to Google something. Okay, first of all, that would require me to formulate a query, go on a whole bunch of websites, read a lot of complicated jargon, and then then they kind of try and interpret what I'm reading. Okay, in a way that I can understand in my mind. Okay, now compare that to what we have today, which is I can just talk in natural language. Right. I can just explain. I can say, hey, I don't understand this part. Can you explain it to me? Right? If you're reading a web page, you just do not have that ability to just say, please explain that to me. Okay? So I think that's really incredible. I think it's going to really just revolutionize education. That's one of the first things. And we're kind of already seeing that today. A lot of students, they're using ChatGPT. They're using these tools. Okay? Now, one of the biggest things that I hear is okay, it gives false information. Okay? Which is true. Okay? But even if it gave false information, let's just say 30% of the time, 70% of the time, it's actually very useful and very interesting information, okay? Compare that to just not having it at all, right? And it's totally free also. So I think that is revolutionary. And obviously, if you just take that and you just like project that out like 5 to 10 years, like naturally it's just going to get better over time. Okay. So yeah, it's a very interesting time that we're in, I think.
Yeah. A friend of mine said, I think I forget, it was one of the big banks, and they said the technology is going to do like 2,000 hours of legal work in a day.
Yeah.
So even lawyers are, I think you mentioned, even lawyers are going to be impacted, I think, by AI, because AI is now, it's coming for the white collar jobs.
Right.
And now I think the blue collar jobs are really
Safer. Yeah, it certainly
it's
seems
safer
safer.
bet.
It's interesting because like, people for a long time, people were thinking, okay, the automation jobs are the ones that are going to go first, the ones in the factories, the ones doing blue collar things, and I think it's really incredible because, as you mentioned, like it's really the white collar jobs, the writers, the journalists, the pretty much anything that deals with text. Okay, like that is just completely being revolutionized. Okay. If you're a journalist right now and then you see like the incredible stuff that ChatGPT can kind of write today, okay, it's not great. I mean, obviously you can kind of tell like it's really robotic, has like a certain tone to it, but like you kind of think, okay, what is the technical obstacle to just making something that just feels natural? Like, is it really that far away? And I think like I don't think it's really that far away to kind of I don't think it's really too far fetched to say that in 5 years you just will not be able to tell a difference between something that a human wrote and something that was written by a computer. Okay. And right now, what we have is text. I mean, naturally, there's also video. There's also photos. And you can kind of already today, like, write in a prompt for, like, something like Midjourney or in DALL-E, or there's a whole bunch of different tools. You can type in, like, a prompt, like, make me a house that has 3 windows. And it will draw you a house, okay, just from that prompt. Mm-hmm. And you can kind of, like, think, okay, if I can do pictures now, naturally, over time, you're going to be able to do videos. And I think that will just also by itself revolutionized anything that uses video, anything that uses images. Yeah. Just like just like text is being revolutionized today.
Yeah, I think video very powerful as far as content. My friend, the way he explained it to me, he said we live in an attention economy.
Yeah.
Because every time you open your phone, right, there's millions of people, millions of companies that are vying for your attention, and text is just text. It's a sea of text, but video, which is what we're doing right now, grabs attention. And if you can grab attention, right, you hold people's attention for about 3 seconds. And then whatever message you're trying to get, or whatever product or service you're trying to sell, that's your chance.
Right.
But I definitely believe in video. I know some people aren't comfortable putting themselves on the video, but, that's...
Yeah, it's true. I mean, there's also, as to kind of naturally go along this, like there's also a lot of downsides to that, especially when you get into video, because you get, fake videos of people, you can't really start to not being able to tell, like, what's real and what's not,
Mm-hmm.
And that can have serious consequences, I think, like, and it's a tough thing, like, what can you really do about it? Like, is there, I think there's a lot of disagreement on this. Like, is there really something you can do? Like, if the cat is out of the bag, like, people know how to kind of advance the technology. Like, can you really just say, stop it? Like, there was recently, like, a letter, I don't know if you know about it, like, just stop the AI development thing. And, like, a lot of people signed on it, but, like, at the same time, they're also working on this kind of technology themselves, right? So I just don't think it's really realistic to kind of, like, once this technology, we know the technology works, we can just kind of scale it to a certain point. Like, are people just going to stop scaling it?
No.
I don't think so, yeah. So
it's not going to stop.
Right. So, like, we're going to have to deal with a lot of questions, I think, like thorny questions and, like, how, when there's fake videos of people, like, obviously you can do a lot of harm with that. So when there's fake videos of people, what do you really do about that? Like, can you do anything about it?
Yeah. Well, I think the AI revolution, it's a blessing and a curse because it's going to solve a lot of problems, but it's also going to create a lot of problems. Like, for online learning, right? I know Lehman is presenting itself as the New York City's #1 online school, right? That presents problems because there's going to be demand for software that prevents cheating.
Right.
Right.
And it'll be really tough to do that over time,
and I think it's an exciting time.
Right. It's a cat and mouse game because you want to, stop one loophole, you create another. Yeah. So I think, like, what is the overall thing? Like, how do you deal with education in that system? I think, like, there's a lot of different interesting things that I've read on that. Like, one of the things that they do at Lehman, for example, like, I don't know if they still do it, but, like, in chemistry classes, they do this flipped learning classroom model. Mm-hmm. So instead of actually, like, sitting in the class, you listen to the lecture, you watch the lecture in your home, okay? You watch videos, you answer questions. Then in the class, you actually answer questions, okay? So when you're answering questions in the class, you just really you don't have the opportunity to cheat, if you will. So you have to actually be there. You have to be engaged. You have to understand. Okay, and you can watch the videos at any point in time. You can rewatch them as many times as you want. You can. So I think like maybe models like that,
Yeah.
we can kind of go forward. Are ways to go forward.
So you're pursuing a master's in computer
Yeah.
science. Very challenging.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
What would you like to do with it?
Um,
Entrepreneurship, a job?
Maybe a job. I've just always generally been interested in science and just how things work. For the computer science, like I would love to do something with AI or machine learning. I don't specifically know exactly where I want to take with it, but in general, I think it's just not a bad thing to do. Like especially nowadays, like you can see like the scale of which is what's happening in the computer science field. I think it's like I feel pretty comfortable majoring in computer or actually getting a degree in computer science. So yeah, no, I don't think that there's any specific thing I want to do right now, but in general, I just want to have it as a tool in my toolbox to kind of apply. I feel like a lot of jobs these days, they just want, everyone has an undergraduate, okay? Everyone has some boot camp, okay? But like it kind of differentiates you if you have some sort of advanced degree.
Yeah, no, definitely it does, for sure. I think we met, speaking of Lehman, Lehman does some great tech events. I mean,
Yeah.
DevFest was, I thought, a wonderful success. And then you and I met last semester at the hackathon that Postman was sponsoring.
Right.
And I think you were on the same team with Miguel Lorenzo, who's also a guest of the podcast. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I think
you were on the winning team. At the
Right.
hackathon,
I don't think we actually realized that we'd actually win. I believe the idea was to do something related to New York. Okay, so at some point, I think Miguel and us we decided, okay, let's just do something related to the ice cream machines that just never work at McDonald's. Okay, because this is actually like a famous meme, or the ice cream machines are just never working. So we decided, okay, hey, well, maybe we can make something along that kind of line. And so we kind of thought for a while, like, what could we do? How could we advance that? Okay. So what came is like, okay, maybe we could just not only do ice cream, but we could just track any inventory item that is available at McDonald's. We could check if it's in stock or not. And from there, we kind of went like through all the different points about how we're actually going to solve this problem. Okay, where are we going to get the data from? How are we going to visualize it? Like, how should it look? How should it work? And so, like, at first, the idea was to scrape it from McDonald's website because they don't have an API. The API is like a formal way to actually get data from somewhere. They don't have a formal way. So essentially, what you have to do is go to the website, you pretend that you're a browser, then you just like do a whole bunch of fancy stuff, and you extract the information from the website itself. Now, there's a problem with that, in that McDonald's doesn't actually have a website. Like, you can't order from a website. You have to use the mobile app.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, reverse engineering mobile apps is a lot more difficult than actually just faking a website. So we could not do that. So turns out we could do the next best thing, which is like there are services that actually have access to McDonald's data already, right? So they're Grubhub, they're Uber Eats, they're Postmates, things like that, like delivery services. And so we decided, okay, hey, maybe we should just take the data from there. Okay, so we just went around shopping, figuring out the easiest place that we could possibly get the data from. And I think eventually we decided on Grubhub. So yeah, we basically just like scrolled through the Grubhub website. We used a script to like get all the products in a certain location. And it's really a mess. I mean, it's amazing that it even works. I think like we got all the data and then we put it into like a gigantic file. And then we actually use that in the actual website. So there's no server, there's no database or anything. And so that means that the website will just continue to work forever. Right? We don't have to pay for anything. So, getting that scraping part done, that's what it's called, which is like extracting data from a website. Like getting that scraping thing done, that took hours. It took hours. I mean, I at a certain point we thought like maybe we should just like give up and just like fake the data or something like that. But like we went so far. So I was just like, okay, I was really pushing back on the team. Like, okay, no, we have to actually have real data. It's so much more interesting to have real data than just like complete fake data, right? And so I think that's what really changed the actual game, really, for us. Maybe that's probably why we won, because we actually have real data. But yeah, it's really cool just to see the product that we have. And we also made it like really pretty, just like, spinny ice cream cone and everything. I don't know if you've seen it, but yeah, it's just really incredible what we got out of that.
Good. I've really enjoyed working with you. Swathi and I have enjoyed working with you this past semester. Tell me a little bit. We've only got a couple more minutes.
Yeah,
but
sure.
Tell me a little bit about your time at Lehman. Were there any professors here that have really helped you that stood out?
Yeah, I've been here. Okay, I feel like there's a lot of really cool professors. I think like Professor Pamela Mills. She's actually, I think, dean of the natural sciences thing. She's a great professor. I think she came from Hunter College, and she came in and she implemented this flipped learning classroom in chemistry class. I think that was really incredible, where instead of actually sitting through the class, going through boring lectures, like, no, you do the lectures at home. I think that's incredible. That's not something that I really see in a lot of classes, okay? Maybe you go on a chalkboard, you write some things out, okay, there's a presentation, you kind of go home and whatever. It's just not very interactive, right? But I think like things like that, especially as we move forward with AI, I think that that's certainly something that we should explore more, perhaps. It's definitely different, you know? It's not like a very easy transition, right? It's going to require a lot of planning. But I think something like that is the way to go.
Good. Very
going
good.
forward.
Well, Zubear, I want to thank you so
Sure.
much for coming on the Built in the Bronx
Thank
podcast.
you for having me. Yeah.
Zubear Choudhury, master's candidate in computer science. Zubear, thanks
Nice
for coming
to meet
on.
you.
Good luck with
Thank you.
everything, okay? If you're hearing this message, you've listened to the entire episode, and for that, we sincerely thank you. If you did enjoy the episode, we'd really appreciate it if you left us a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Please feel free to let us know about any topics that you'd like to see in future episodes. We look forward to seeing you next week.